And welcome back. What was I talking about? Oh yes, Titan at 25 instead of 10. This is because we had technology transfer. I've already mentioned this once, but it's better off here. It's mainly for rockets and capsules. I think it might apply to the unmanned stuff as well. But the idea is if you have a high safety factor on a component that is immediately preceding it, then you get a bonus to the initial safety factor of the next part of the program. The criterion is that you have to have a safety factor of 75% or higher to get the full bonus. And if you have less than that, you only get a partial bonus. Since we're at 97% on Atlas, we got the full bonus of 15% on our initial safety factor for starting the Titan program. We need Titan because we need that to do our Ranger missions for our lunar flybys, our planetary flybys. We're also going to need it for our next capsules. Now, technically, we could lift Gemini with a boosted Atlas, but then we couldn't launch any unmanned missions. And since money's going to be tight for the next couple of seasons, and unmanned mission, the flybys are a pretty easy way to get a couple of nice prestige first, a little bit of prestige, keep the money going while you're working on getting everything up and running. So we won't R&D that, and we won't buy any astronauts this turn either. Because we've got 6 astronauts, and when we end Mercury, we can all transfer them to a new program anyway. So we're all set to go with our 2 manned missions, the Earth Orbital and the Earth Orbital EVA, and the Orbital Satellite. So let's see about getting these going. So, let's continue.
Hey, Roger, periscope has retracted. That's the first periscope pickup. Rain bus 24 volts, 26 amps.
Now, the whole periscope retraction thing, if I remember right, that actually comes from Mercury missions when they're doing re-entry. So this is sort of like mix and match, but at least they're actual clips from NASA manned missions. I was talking about it a little bit last time, but I got interrupted by the whole capsule bonus thing. Since there wasn't a lot of footage of the Soviets and there wasn't any sort of audio, the original game designers, when they did the CD version, would do homemade, faux Russian accents and stock model shots to fill in some of the missing audio and video clips. Race into Space, since it has greater access to the Russian archives, has better video as far as authentic Soviet space missions. The audio is still a little rusty. Okay, so since this is an Earth orbital mission, instead of going straight into the re-entry, we go to our orbital insertion burn to put the craft into a stable orbit, which is a success. Even though Cooper is a 3, he still gets the bonus. It sort of randomly triggers whether you get a bonus when you have a 3 or a 2. I think you always get it if you have a capsule of 4. So you saw we very nearly had a failure on the Earth orbital activities, but we're all fine. Earth deorbit burn, so the Mercury gets into position and fires its retro rockets. 1, 2, 3. I always get nervous and a little quiet on the re-entry steps because usually, if you fail the re-entry step, it usually means the astronaut is dead. And if he's not dead, then you either got really lucky or something has happened to the safety factor of the spacecraft, which is usually not good. So we have now equaled the Soviets in putting a man into orbit. We're a bit late, we're a bit behind schedule, but we've at least done it. So we don't have any problems with that. Bing! So, yeah, you get the gist. I find the recovery landing takes way too long for, my liking. It's like a full 30 seconds of videos. It's like, okay, yeah, we get the point. He's safe. Let's get on with it. So Cooper becomes the first American to orbit. We only get 5 because it's the second, but, you know, at least we succeeded and he's not dead. Now, let's see if, who is this? Carpenter. Scott Carpenter can give us a prestige first this time. Since this is the first man's EVA. What I'll probably do for the duration B is I'll skip to the duration step and talk about the duration step by itself. And then for future manned missions, I might show the full video for brand new mission types like docking, longer durations, a 2-person or 3-person craft, and especially any mission involving the moon the first time, lunar passes, lunar orbitals. And of course the lunar landing will be its own separate video, probably by itself, because that is going to be so long. You're on our way, Houston. Yes. Yes, you are. You're keeping an eye on the clock here. We're coming up on like 7 minutes, close to 7 minutes. Well, launch always takes the longest. Recovery takes the longest. Launch usually takes the second longest. The actual space steps usually are not so long, so it's a bit easier to sit through the space steps than it is the actual, you know, space steps of the mission. Now this is ahistorical. Neither the Soviets nor the US ever planned to do EVA on the one-man capsules, but this is included as a game balance feature. Because the original Barris designers, the Buzz Aldrin Race in Space designers, felt it would be a bit unbalancing to force you to have to do EVAs only with 2-man and up capsules. Oh boy. Okay, so we had a step failure, but it wasn't fatal. It was flashing yellow. Yellow step failures usually indicate that that it's something not deadly, but it's not good. In this case, our Earth deorbit burn had a step failure. We were 8 under the roll. Premature burnout, engine cutoff. Engine performance below minimum thrust requirement. So it's failure use alternate, which basically means that, you know, the mission continues, but you're basically skipping all the future steps and you're going straight into the next step. You know, okay, that came out a bit weird, but usually you see a yellow step failure indication for things like docking failures or whatnot. In this case, it doesn't look like it'll affect us because we'll just go into the re-entry anyway. But oh god, this is what I was talking about. We're in trouble. Yep. 86 versus 91. Heat shield fails, vehicle burns up and disintegrates in upper atmosphere, flight crew killed. Catastrophic failure, Carpenter is dead, obviously. So this is the first astronaut to die in space. And anytime during the mission when you kill an astronaut, you get treated to a little montage after the mission here of your funeral procession for your brave astronauts. And anytime you have a crew death during a mission, that counts as a failure in this mission, and you get -10 prestige, in addition to having the crewmen dead. So you see Mercury 9, all dead. We'll come up to 10 minutes, so I'll cut out here, and I'll join you in the next part for a little more bad news.